Happy AfterWork Stories Friday edition. Oh, to a long weekend, the beginning. I hope you're excited. I hope you had a wonderful day. I hope you worked with all your might, gave 100%, and now you're ready to relax. What's today's book? The Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lesmore. Oh, this looks like a long book. Let's see if we can break this in chunks. This is by William Joyce. Well, Mr. Joyce, look at the beautiful illustration so far. A visually stunning bit of work. That's what the New York Times says. It is not inconceivable that a short children's story called The Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lesmore will be regarded as one of the most influential titles of the early 21st century. Oh my. That's really good. And yeah, this is Academy Award winning short film. The inspiration. Okay. Morris Lesmore loved words. He loved stories. He loved books. But every story has its upsets. Everything in Morris Lesmore's life, including his own story, is scattered to the winds. But the power of story will save the day. Like I said, we're going to have to divide this, but so far it's very appealing. Look at the type of font that he chose. Very beautiful. And this was also illustrated by William Joyce and Joe Bloom. So great job. All right, look at this. Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, just take that in. Look at all those books on his balcony. Morris Lesmore loved words. He loved stories. He loved books. His life was a book of his own writing. One orderly page after another. He would open it every morning and write of his joys and sorrows, of all that he knew and everything that he hoped for. That's beautiful. But every story has its upsets. One day the sky darkened. The winds blew and blew. Look at this. Look at hurricane, tornado. Look at this. Wow. Torrential winds. Till everything Morris knew was scattered. Even the words of his book. Look at that. His house turned upside down. Not very happy. Sometimes we feel like that, don't we? Like everything topsy-turvy. Look at this. He didn't know what to do or which way to go, so he began to wander and wander some more. In the midst of all the ruins, he just started walking. Then a happy bit of happenstance came his way. Rather than looking down, as had become his habit, Morris Lesmore looked up. Drifting through the sky above him, Morris saw a lovely lady. She was being pulled along by a festive squadron of flying books. Isn't that cool? Lots of letters on her skirt. Books. Morris wondered if his book could fly, but it couldn't. It would only fall to the ground with a depressing thud. The flying lady knew Morris simply needed a good story, so she sent him her favorite. The book was an amiable fellow and urged Morris to follow him. Okay. Power of words, power of books. The book led him to an extraordinary building where many books apparently nested. It's a beautiful building. Look at the architecture. The wise owl. Yeah, look at that. The books embedded. Ooh, what an interesting room. Look at this. It's beautiful. Morris slowly walked inside and discovered the most mysterious and inviting room he had ever seen. It was filled with the fluttering of countless pages, and Morris could hear the faint chatter of 1,000 different stories, as if each book was whispering an invitation to adventure. Right? Look at him. It's like, what's going on here? Then his new friend flew up to him and landed on his arm. It held itself open, as if hoping to be read. The room rustled to life, and so Morris's life among the books began. Get lost in a book. Look at this. Morris tried to keep the books in some sort of order, but they always mixed themselves up. The tragedies needed cheering up and would visit with the comedies. The encyclopedias, weary of facts, would relax with the comic books and fictions. All in all, it was an agreeable jumble. Morris found great satisfaction in caring for the books, gently fixing those with fragile bindings and unfolding the dog-eared pages of others. Sometimes Morris would become lost in the book and scarcely emerge for days. Oh my goodness. He really loved to read. Can you think about some people who won't emerge for days with a video game? I mean, they'll forego meals and using the facilities. I know some people, yeah. Well, to do this with a book, hopefully he ate and took care of himself. But look at that. He really liked it. Histories. Fantastic. Let's see. Morris liked to share the books with others. Sometimes it was a favorite that everyone loved, and other times he found a lonely little volume whose tale was seldom told. Everyone's story matters, said Morris, and all the books agreed. Yes, everyone matters. Every book matters. Love it. At night, after all the stories that needed telling had been told and everyone had settled down to their proper places on the shelves, the great big dictionary would get in the last word. It was then that Morris Lesmore would once again write in his own book. He wrote of his joys and sorrows, of all that he knew and everything that he had hoped for. Love it. Everything he knew and everything he hoped for. Look at this. The days passed. So did the months. Look at that. Funny, funny, funny. Yeah. And then years pass. And years. Wow, look at that. He's an older man on a cane, with a cane here. And look at that, the books have canes. But he still has a smile on his face. I don't know if you can tell. Oh, this is wonderful. Ah, look at this. And Morris Lesmore became stooped and crinkly. But the books never changed. Their stories stayed the same. Now his old friends took care of him the way he had once cared for them, and they read themselves to him each night. Isn't that precious? He was able to receive the gift that he gave early on. And you see his face, his countenance, his expression. Doesn't he look peaceful? That's why we need to give to others while we can. Oh, that's wonderful. Look at this. Then one day he filled the last page in his book. He looked up and said with a bittersweet sigh, I guess it's time for me to move on. Ah, look at the haze, sun. So beautiful. Look at this. The books were sorry, but they understood. Morris put on his hat and took his cane. As he went to the door, he turned and smiled, then waved goodbye. "I'll carry you all in here," he said, and pointed to his heart. What are you carrying in your heart? Hopefully not any bitterness and negativity. Hopefully sweet memories and teachings and lessons and instruction and inspiration. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to hold in our hearts, right? All of us. The books waved their pages and Morris Lesmore flew away. And as he flew, he changed back to the way he'd been that long ago day when they all first met. As a young man, huh? Very nice. Let's look at this. The books were quiet for a while. Then they noticed that Morris Lesmore had left something behind. "It's his book," said his oldest friend. Inside was Morris's story, all of his joys and sorrows, all that he knew, and everything that he hoped for. Look at this. Then the books heard a small, expectant sound. There in the doorway was a little girl. She looked around with wonder. Then something fantastic happened. Morris Lesmore's book flew up to her and opened its pages. The girl began to read, and so our story ends as it began. It's the gift that keeps on giving. How precious is the story? Look at this. With the opening of a book. And it starts with a new person. Isn't that beautiful? And so our story ends as it began, with the opening of a book. Yep. And it never ends. It just keeps going, going, and going. Ha 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 ha. Beautiful illustration. Such peace, such solitude. Beautiful. What a wonderful book. William Joyce has been working on the fantastic flying books of Mr. Morris Lesmore since 1999. The story began as a tribute to the late Bill Morris, the soft-spoken, dry-witted pioneer of library promotions. Then Hurricane Katrina devastated, remember, Mr. Joyce's home state and interrupted progress of the book. The author saw firsthand the curative power of stories as he visited displaced children reading donated books in the shelters. And so Morris Lesmore evolved. Unable to paint for long periods of time because of eye surgeries, finishing the book took many paths. An Academy Award, winning animated short film, a groundbreaking story app, and now at last a book. It is the most personal story of Joyce's career. William Joyce is also the creator of many classic books for children, including the New York Times bestselling The Man in the Moon and the Guardian series. He co-founded Moonbot Studios, a storytelling and animation collective in Shreveport, Louisiana, the city he calls home. Joe Bloom is an award-winning illustrator designer, and he uses caricatures from the little town of Laceyville, Pennsylvania. Isn't that cool? He now lives in Shreveport, Louisiana, where he helps create anything the Moonbots need. Joe has published 2 art books. This is his picture book debut. So this is his first. Wasn't that precious? That reminds me of something that I just picked up on the way home from school, walking. You know how Mr. Lesmore, you remember how Mr. Lesmore wrote of his joys and sorrows and the things he hoped for and all that he knew? Well, I don't do that with my journals, but I picked up a brand new journal. Yes. And I'm not finished with my last one, but it's something about buying a new journal, filling the pages every day. Every day I do write my joys, what I'm thankful for. Do I write my sorrows? I think I turn it around and I'm still thankful for even the hard times, because there's always a nugget, some type of golden element to the trying times. So I'm even thankful for those experiences. I can't write all that I know, not in the book, and all that I hope for, I do write those down sometimes. All right, well, maybe you should invest in a journal. The young lady discounted it down to $10 for me. It was $12, but wherever you get a journal, you could get them anywhere. TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Ross, and they're cheap. But anyway, get to writing. Most of all, get to reading, get to thinking, get to imagining, get to reflecting. And hopefully you'll be able to pass it on like Mr. Lesmore did. All right, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the evening.